and welcome to Avolution's 6th Enterprise Architecture Summit. If this is the first time you've joined one of our events, welcome to our community of enterprise architects and digital professionals. I'm Leanne Shimon, a member of Avolution's marketing team. We've got a great session for you coming up on how a leading energy provider is using enterprise architecture to successfully deliver transformation and growth. Now it's my pleasure to introduce our two speakers for today's session, Principal Enterprise Architect Chenen Chiang and Abacus Technical Lead Kanan Asori, who are joining us from CLP Power Hong Kong. Over to you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. So today, this is really our pleasure to join the Enterprise Architecture Summit 2024. So today we are going to share CLP's enterprise architecture journey, a little bit story about how we strategize enterprise architecture to enable utility of the future, right? So today, who is with us today? A little bit short introduction about myself and also Kanan, right? So my name is Chenen. I'm the head of enterprise architects. So I have around 15 years experience in digital transformation, focusing on solution architecture, enterprise architecture by defining enterprise architecture roadmap and focusing on strategy and planning. Over the past 5 years in CLP, my role started with a functional architecture and then really grow to enterprise architecture over the past 3 years. So for today, I'm going to share my journeys as an enterprise architect, how I build the enterprise architecture practice, what's the architectural outcomes that I'm delivering to CLP business as a whole, right? So that will be my presentation today. And now that Kanan to also introduce himself.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for the presentation today. And it's a pleasure to also share on some of the stories that we've had within CLP. So about myself, I have a 5-year experience in working in multiple roles across various industries. I've since joined CLP almost 2 years ago, and I've been helping to work with the enterprise architecture function to help continue to build and develop the enterprise architecture practice and help implement new tools that are purpose-driven and supporting our enterprise architecture planning and development. So looking forward to sharing more and sit back and enjoy the rest of the presentation. Thank you, guys.
Okay, so without further ado, this is our agenda today. Very quickly, first we'll talk about CLP Power Hong Kong, just to give everyone a context, right? And then I'll share the enterprise architecture practice and the capability we are building in CLP. Also a little bit really how we enable enterprise architecture to deliver the business outcome. There are a couple of real-time examples that will share the successful story. And the rest of the presentation, I'll hand over to Kanan, and he will do the share some of the demos where how we leverage our enterprise architecture tool to deliver all these different outcomes. And we have reserved around 15 minutes for Q&A. So let's start with the presentation.
Awesome.
So first about CLP Power Hong Kong, just to give everyone a little bit ideas. The CLP Hong Kong was founded in 1901, and we are serving over 80% of the Hong Kong populations, provide all the electricities with reliabilities and security, right? So if we look at some of our KPIs, we actually achieved the world-class reliability rate over 99.997. I think that's very, very outstanding in terms of how we provide a reliable electricities to serve the whole Hong Kong residential and non-residential customers. So if you look at the COP Power as a company, right? So we are operating a vertical integrated markets in Hong Kong. So currently our business cover energy generation, energy transmission and distribution. Also, we have the customer services. So that's the three big business groups that we are providing as in COP Hong Kong. But then if I look at COP, right, it has a group. We also have some of our business across in Taiwan, energy, Australia, India, and also China. So this is about COP as a whole. If we look at the current power generation, right? So this diagram kind of just show an indication of how much percentage of the electricity comes from, right? So if I look at the current portfolio, it's still 80% of COP Power's electricity is generated from coal, but we already shift a lot from coal to natural gas. There's a lot of shifting to renewable energies that we are focusing on today. So overall, COP is moving towards a more sustainable and renewable electricity generation in the future. So here's a short video. Maybe let me play the video, just give everyone a sense of what COP's Hong Kong's coverage and what's our business strategy.
Clear blue sky. In support of Hong Kong's goal of carbon neutrality by 2050, COP has adopted a holistic decarbonization strategy to work towards bluer skies. We have increased the proportion of gas-fired power generation and maintained the stable supply of our nuclear energy. We are promoting the city's development of renewable energy and waste-to-energy initiatives to increase our low-carbon energy supply. We are exploring to introduce more zero-carbon energy and new technologies like hydrogen power. We are encouraging our customers to reduce their carbon footprints and enhance energy efficiency in their everyday lives. We will achieve the target together, supporting sustainable development in Hong Kong and creating clearer, bluer skies for everyone.
Good. So I think this is a very short video, but I believe this will give everyone a sense of how COPs operate and what our business strategy is focusing on, right? So if I zoom out a little bit just to give everyone a understanding of how the industry is evolving. So the industry, the energy industry, right? Previously, we are more in an integrated electricity value chain, right? So if I look at the value chains, the generation and transmission distribution is quite integrated. But now in today's, because of a lot of digital technology that is actually disrupting the overall electricity or electricity value chain, right? So there's more DER, distributed energy resources, that we need to leverage. There's more demand side and supply side energy and energy technologies, right? So the whole electricity value chain becomes more decentralized. So it's not centralized anymore. So energy orchestration becomes very important. And also to focusing on the customer service is also very important, because in the future, customer is not just asking for a reliable energy supply. They want to understand what are the energy solutions, any energy services that we can provide to help them to save the electricities. So all this stuff is really looking forward to a more digital enabled energy management solutions in the future, right? So if I look at these energy trends, so COP strategy is for utility of the future, is focusing on three main pillars. One is decarbonization, the second one is digitalization, and the third one is workforce transformations, right? So decarbonization basically means we need to focusing on more renewable energies. We need to focusing on more DER, right? So to leverage more digital technologies to decentralize the energy supply and demand. And for digitalization, COP is looking at a lot of process automation across the whole enterprise. We are kicking off and embarking a lot of transformation program in customer transformation in our backend systems, including the whole ERP transformations, right? And also, if I look at our grid, we are also doing a lot of modernizations into a lot of our controlling systems into our grid. So that's all about the digitalization, including to the front end to the back end systems. If I also look at the workforce transformation, the priority we're focusing on how we enable or provide a better employee experience through providing a mobile technology, through providing our frontline workers a digital tooling and digital technology enable them to perform the frontline work in a more efficient ways. So these are all our strategic focus for today's to enable COP to become a future-ready utilities. So after I set up all the things that is about COP Power Hong Kong and COP operate in the utility industry today, right? So I shift the focus to really talk about how enterprise architecture function evolve to enable COP transformation journeys. So I still remember when I took the enterprise architect role 3 years ago as a head of enterprise architect. Previously, we are more focusing on the governance function, right? What does that mean? That means previously COP EA is focusing on defining a lot of policies or governance about technology, right? For me, it's a very technology-centric governance model. But when I start to take the enterprise architecture, I basically pivot the whole enterprise architecture to focusing on business outcome, right? So EA start to become a strategist, a technology strategist and key influencer to influence key business decisions in different multiple transformation programs. So what we actually change is we really change from defining governance, defining policies, then we change to really start to define what's the fundamental digital capabilities that is necessary to enable our business strategy, to enable our business outcomes. And we start to define the principles in different architecture domain, including data, including integration, including security. So what are the key capabilities that is needed to provide to our business of an integrated architecture offering? That's also what we changed. Apart from that, we also start to define our platform strategy because in the future, COP is going to operate on key strategic platforms. So we already not focusing on a technology silo approach, but really look at the more from the future fit platform perspective. So we start to develop all these strategic platforms and start to develop, enhance our capability on top of these platforms. So basically, what I'm going to share today is really a 3-year journey is that we really pivot from a governance-centric model to a more business outcome-driven model. So EA today, if I look at COP, we deliver 5 key outcomes to support different transformation. The number one is EA is for our enterprise architecture is focusing on business capabilities. The second one, we're focusing on human-centric design. The third one is our architecture team start to produce and defining reusable components, including different reusable patterns, reusable reference architecture that will be applicable to different business projects. And then we also integrate different architecture capability into one architecture services. Apart from that, right, we also linking architecture into executions. So whatever we are being designed in the enterprise architecture, we make sure that can be translated into the detailed solution design and being executed and delivered to different projects. So these are the 5 key outcomes to support the transformation that we are delivering to date. So in the last slide, we will basically double click on every single outcomes and give a little bit examples how and how we are achieving this. If you have any question, maybe we can leave to the Q&A. So number one, we're focusing on business outcome, right? So for every single project, the first conversation with the business team, when I look at when I have the conversation with the business stakeholder, is really, we are not talking about what kind of systems are we implementing AI or machine learning models, right? That's not the starting of the conversation. The conversation usually start with what's the capabilities that we enable for your business today, right? Either that's the generation business, transmission or distribution business, or even the customer. So what we have defined is we define an overarching business capability model. So this model will allow us to have a strategic focus conversation with all the business key users. So with this model, every project have a common language that we align with, right? So by using this model, that will help us to answer a few questions. If I look at from the architecture planning perspective, number one is what are the key capability gaps? If I look at today and the roadmap that we are trying to achieve in the next 5 years, right? So the first one is allow us to define the capability gaps. The second one is which are the capabilities that requires strategic investments, right? And the third one is what are the capability areas that needs to be rationalized? Because when I take the enterprise architecture role, I start to realize we have around 400 applications currently in CLP, but there are around 30% of these applications are actually implementing on similar capability areas, right? For example, in the access control system, we probably have more than 10 systems performing similar functions. So this capability map will also allow us to start to identify the opportunity areas for application rationalization. So this is number one outcome we deliver to the business. The second one is enterprise architecture also start to focusing on human-centric design, right? So what does that mean? First, we have that capability discussion. Then the second one, for example, in our customer transformation programs, we have started to define a lot of customer journeys in our front-end web app or the digital front ends, right? So the approach we are taking is start to take the design thinking approach. We start to understand what's the customer journeys that we want to provide to our customers. So start from these journeys. This journey will start to allow us to define the next level of the features that is needed. So once that feature is defined, then we can start to understand what would be the backend services to provide, right? So we really start to change our approach to just focusing on a list of business requirements. We are not focusing on requirement, but then really pivot to change to say, what would be the customer experience that we want to deliver to our customers? Or what would be the employee experience that we want to deliver to CLP employees, right, as a backend systems. So that approach also changed a lot when we start to have that architecture discussions with our key stakeholders. So one of the example of the outcome that we achieve through this human-centric design is we are able to deliver more than 10 new customer journeys on CLP web app through the customer transformation programs, right? So this basically include a lot of new initiatives. For example, the EV charging services. We are enabling more digital billing services and also one identity services. All all of these new features is really achieving through a human-centric design and customer-centric design. So that's the second outcome. The third outcome I'm also quite proud of is we start to building reusable components from the enterprise architecture perspective, right? So one of these is really we start this year because our business team, for example, in the transmission department, they want to start to install a lot of smart sensors. This smart sensor is able to collect a lot of sensoring data from our critical assets. And we have similar requests in our transmission and distribution departments, business units. So we have seen multiple business start to have similar requests to have a holistic like IoT or IoT technology to enable condition monitoring for their asset management, right? So because of all these increasing demands of IoT, so this year we start initiatives to build a reusable components, and we start with the IoT. So what we have done is we work very closely with our business team and also with our security architect, with our integration architect, with our data architect. We sit together to look at this is what business is trying to achieve, right? So we start to define 7 layers of architecture, starting from the edge layer to the cloud layer. So every single layer, we define very clear communication protocol. What's the secure communication protocol to start to collect all this IoT data, and which protocol allow us to collect the data into the cloud platform. Once the data collected in the cloud, what kind of analytics that we want to enable for every single different business unit. So the outcome of this IoT is we publish the IoT reference architecture, and these architectures allow us to reduce 40% of the time to deliver IoT projects across different BUs. So for me, that's a very satisfactory outcome that we are able to achieve through building a reusable architecture components. And the next one is to engage in business team with integrated architecture services. So I understand every organization has very different architecture operating model, right? So some organization is a very centralized architecture team, but based on my observation and also my understanding of the enterprise architecture community, right? So most of the company, they maintain a relatively thin EA, right? And that's more at the group level. So COP adopt a very similar approach. Our enterprise architecture is operated in a federated model, right? So we do have security architects sit in the security organizations. We do have the data architect sitting in the data organization within the overall digital. They are not directly report to enterprise architecture, but what we have achieved is really start to building an architecture community under this federated model, right? So this architecture community is able to integrate every single domain architects and different skill sets of these architects and integrate this as an integrated offering that provides to different transformation programs or different projects. So we do start to establish a very lightweight governance, start to define different principles, guidelines that is integrate these architectural capabilities together. So this has been implemented for more than 1 year. So far, the architectural communities is being recognized a very successful initiative in COP. And we do start to streamline a lot of communications, a a lot of ways of working to provide an integrated architecture offering to our business team. So last but not least, the architecture and CLP-EA is now focusing on just do the architecture planning and principles, right? So we are also making sure the architecture is implementable and executable into different projects. So how we link the architecture into execution? Our current approach is CLP-EA is more focusing on overarching, defining the architecture principles that needs to be followed across different programs. But then we also work closely, very closely with different domain solution architects. So we have different solution architects being assigned to different domains, right? So when I say domains, basically means generations, transmission and distribution, and customer services. So they have more domain knowledge into different business units, and they work closely with the business. So these kind of two layers of collaboration allow us to make sure the principles and high-level architecture roadmaps defined at the EA level is able to execute and implement at different projects through the solution architecture engagement. So that's very high level and quick go through of 5 enterprise architecture outcomes. So now I'll just pass the time to Kenan just to share one successful story that we have implementing CLP.
Okay. Thank you, Shannon. And there is a lot of different aspects that CLP is trying to work on in terms of its transformation programs. So today I wanted to take one of the cases that we've been able to achieve and also been recognized as well, which is our energy saving program. So what was this energy saving program centered around? So our main goal within CLP, as it continues to develop, is to be able to provide sustainable and greener energy and electricity to all of our customers. So as more and more items becomes electrified and there are more demands for electricity from our customers, we understand that we may need to start to develop a demand side management technique as well that would allow us to better support and ensure that our grids are able to supply and operate without any faults and continue to deliver the world-class reliable service that we've been building over the last 120 years plus. So this energy saving program, what we wanted to achieve is we wanted to reduce the overall peak loads during our summertime, during summer times over the last few years. So the main aim of this project was to help reduce the overall need for electricity during summertime climates, as more and more people are going to be drawing electricity for supporting various cooling, air conditioning, as well as transportation as well. So we wanted to see how we can reduce our overall load within our grid. And one of the ways that we wanted to achieve this is by enabling and empowering our consumers to be a part of our distribution and power consumption usage as well. So how did we go about to achieve this? So understanding what we wanted to do was enable this capability to the customer where they are able to understand what their current usage is and how they may be able to reduce that usage that can help overall our grid in maintaining a continuous supply of electricity. So understanding this capability, we were able to develop using some AI and data analytics to be able to better forecast the expected demand for an upcoming period. So during a certain period, we would analyze what is the expected demand, and accordingly, we would send out requests to certain customers to be able to request if they are able to reduce their energy consumption during a specific time period, to be able to offload or shift the overall amount of electricity supply that is required to be generated and transmitted during any particular time. And for their participation in this energy savings, we would incentivize them with a range of different rewards, from our own CLP designed Domio points, which is a customer point system that they get for saving electricity, as well as other coupons or discounts to other products as well that we partner with many of our vendors to help provide energy efficient world-class products, as well as state-of-the-art electrical appliances that allow them to better control and smart regulate themselves as well. So all of this was able to achieve a large amount of flexibility within our grid supply. And I think that is one of the preceding challenges that we will start to face a lot more in the coming years, as more and more electrification happens across various different industries and sectors as well. So through this, we've been able to demonstrate that we are able to have a distributed and managed electricity supply, and we are able to tap different resources to help maintain and manage the overall requirement of our customers. And secondly, we're also able to show that through the increased awareness and being able to monitor this kind of usage and consumption, our consumers or customers are willing to participate in that energy saving program. So this was a success thanks to us being able to tackle a large number of challenges, but three of them that I would like to highlight in this presentation is: one, there is ever increasing electricity demands, and with that, there's a limited amount of data analytics and usage information that existed. And the third, because of the high amount of different actors and customers that are connecting into our grid these days, there is an increased amount of stress that has occurred within our grid, which we always try to manage and ensure that we can still provide our world-class services. So how do we manage this? It's by sending those demand response nudges with our near real-time consumption data. So over the past 2 to 3 hours, how a customer's usage has been would be shared, and a nudge would be sent to them to request them if they can take part in the energy savings initiative during that time period. And we've had overwhelming response, and a short summary of some of the outcomes we were able to achieve during the demand or energy saving program last year. We were able to reduce our overall electricity peaks during the summertime season. So the peaks that we previously saw in terms of electricity usage have come down to a great extent. During the last year's program, we were able to engage over 600,000 households in Hong Kong to participate in this program. And very simply, by reducing their air conditioning and turning off any non-essential electronic devices and electrical devices that use up electricity. And through all of this, we were able to save over 300,000 kilowatts of from our electricity power generation in just a 4-hour time period, which just shows the level of commitment and interest from the end customer to be able to help support the overall initiative of being able to save the electricity that we're using and to be more sustainable and more conscientious of the way that we manage and use our electricity. And all of this has led to an overall carbon emissions reduction of about 110 tons as well, which is a remarkable achievement in just one small project such as this. And this has all been enabled by the use of smart meters. And since 2018, this has been a push that CLP has been engaged in, initially reaching out to our small and medium enterprise customers. And starting from 2020, we also started to install these smart meters within our residential customers as well. So this project has gained a lot of recognition, and we've continued to try to demonstrate the sort of unity or collaboration of both our services and the end user customers to ensure that together we're using our electricity smartly and effectively while still maintaining a sustainable and greener environment for all of us. So all of these different projects, they require a number of different discussions with multiple different key stakeholders to be able to activate and align all of the right resources to achieve those different outcomes of the project. And a lot of this requires many different levels of planning and communication with various stakeholders to share the benefits as well as the outcomes that they will be able to foresee from the course of the project and the completion of it. So how do we communicate all of these different values and different aspects of our enterprise architecture? We have been able to use Abacus as a backbone to help build all of our sort of EA artifacts as well as information repositories, which then we can disseminate and share across different departments as well as senior stakeholders and members across CLP. So there is a number of different planning tools that we use, and it would be my pleasure to go into a demonstration and share a couple of them with you live on this presentation as well. So if you could just hold on for a minute as I switch over to our enterprise side. All right. So right now I'm entered the portal for our Abacus Enterprise. And this is where we keep our access to all of our enterprise artifacts and make it available to the rest of our CLP members. So the first one I wanted to take a minute to show is our business capabilities model. So as we shared earlier, our main focus has always been on business capability development and focusing on what are those key aspects. So in this model, you can see that the overall business capability model has been created, and we're able to click through as well and understand what set of applications are being used to support those specific business capabilities. So this is something that allows us to better understand what is the suite of products that exist in any single capability and all the various different applications that are supporting to enable this capability for our CLP members. So we were further able to use this as a way to communicate cross impacts as well, wherein we know that there are certain projects that are concurrently happening in terms of transformation. And a lot of these transformational programs impact or have a similar requirement in terms of the capability that is going to be enhanced through that project. So in this view, we're able to overlay an impact analysis as well over our capability model to be able to know what are some of the capabilities that are going to be touched upon during the course of the transformation program. So for example, here you can see there are several project capabilities that are impacted by 3 to 4 different projects. And this allows us to better manage and communicate these impacted systems across multiple teams, and ensuring that the relevant team members are able to plan for and ensure the process is able to flow over seamlessly. So this is about our business capabilities, and some of the questions that we're able to answer from here are, what are the new capabilities we need to introduce? Then we can look at how they fit in with our overall business capability model, and also link that with our technology and application suite as well, so that the users are able to understand what are the tools we currently have, and we can then begin the planning of how we want to shift or migrate to newer solutions as well. Next up, I would like to show our capability model in sort of a heat map view. So this heat map allows us to achieve 2 main objectives, I believe. The first one being able to understand what our sort of technology gap or system gap within any particular capability where they exist. So we should be able to ensure there are relevant systems as well as applications and tools that are able to support those business capabilities. So it gives us an opportunity to quickly scan and understand what are some key investment opportunities for us. So as you can see in this model, overall, we have a low to high application count being shown in this heat map. So as you may see, there are certain capabilities which are quite low, which means that there are a few set of tools or applications that are supporting that application, which we believe are the right sort of principles to follow, where we have a small set of applications that are able to provide the right capabilities to ensure that we are able to provide an integrated service and allow fewer systems having duplicated data, and we are able to streamline our processes through a platform centric approach as well. So this allows us to see where our capabilities need investments, as well as for capabilities that do have a large number of applications. For example, if I were to click into this one, you can see that there are multiple applications that are supporting this specific capability, which leads to the question from the business side of, why am I paying for multiple different applications to deliver the same outcomes or business capabilities? So in this conversation, we're able to look at it to see what are our disinvestment or rationalization opportunities, wherein we can see if there are existing tools that already exist within CLP, which can be further bolstered up to support and handle some of the other aspects of the application as well, to help reduce our technical debt, as well as consolidate our systems into a few key systems and ensuring more streamlined processing of those activities. So these 2 capability views really help us to initiate the conversation and help align these informations with our business partners as well, to ensure they have a clear understanding of why we want to take certain actions in terms of retiring or introducing new technologies and applications to help them navigate and reduce some other elements and costs as well. Next, I would like to share about our technology lifecycle. So in this view, what we actually have is, excuse me for having the masking on, as these are all information within our, taken as a copy of our production data. But in this technology Gantt chart, what we're able to see is these are specific tools that exist from our technology management list. So these are existing tools that are being used to build up the various applications that CLP has and operates. So for example, there are a number of dashboards that we create to help support different management and stakeholders review. So a lot of these dashboards are created using Microsoft's Power BI tool. So through this Gantt chart and lifecycle, we're able to map and connect what are all the different tools that exist within a particular technology, say, for example, Power BI. And we were able to monitor what are some of the key information about when this dashboard or system was introduced within CLP, and when the next catalog review date will be. And what the next catalog review date pertains to is a control practice that we have internally to ensure all of our applications are satisfying the right security controls and are always looking to mitigate and what measures we have in place for protecting all of the data within those particular applications. So as you can see, this Gantt chart is able to quickly share all of the different applications that exist using this particular technology component, and helps us to quickly plan and see if there are any upgrades or any changes that we may need to administer within that technology as well. Next up, I would like to share a similar Gantt chart view, but now from the perspective of the program. In this view, we would just look at how the technologies would work to how these technologies or applications sit within a particular program. So for example, this could be our enterprise resource planning transformation or ERP transformation. And you can see what are all the different applications that are going to be impacted through this program. And accordingly, we can start to plan and see when we will need to retire and migrate those system operations to the new applications that are going to be launched. So all of this information can be quickly disseminated for different project members as well as CLP staff members to ensure that the right actions are being carried out and performed for the particular system prior to when the system will be retired, to ensure continuity of the business as well. And lastly, one quick showcase of something within our interfaces is being able to use Abacus to quickly help us generate some interface diagrams, wherein we are able to quickly understand what are some of the various data points that will be connected from different systems. So these kinds of diagrams or interface data diagrams are also automated through Abacus, which allows us to quickly understand what is the set of data we need to capture and store within a particular system, and then transmit to a preceding system for further business processes and activities. So a lot of this is able to be captured within our Abacus, and we've continued to build up our user base within our company, and we've started to get more and more requests to be able to customize some of these views for their particular programs. And definitely, well, with this repository that we have in place, it's allowed us to quickly be able to pivot and prepare these different use cases and viewpoints for different stakeholders as business needs arise. So that will be all for the demonstration today. Thank you, everyone, for giving me the time and opportunity to share about all the activities that CLP engages in. And we welcome any questions you may have. And thank you once again. All right.
Thank you, Chanan and Kanan. That was a fantastic session. Will you be going through the key takeaways?
Okay, sure.
Sure.
So maybe let me keep this short. I do want to reserve some time for Q&A. So the key takeaway is really four points. Number one, right? Enterprise architecture is not about technology from my perspective. Enterprise architecture should focusing on business outcome. So we should focus as a EA community, right? So for me, I'm advocating the business outcome driven EA. That's number one. Number two, all the artifacts that we build as a bit enterprise architecture is for us to communicate with our key stakeholders. Our value is focusing on influencing the key stakeholders' decisions, right? So for me, I know a lot of architects struggling with building different architecture tooling, right? But then I think at the end of the day, it's not about how many artifacts that we build in the tool, but it's how we use these artifacts to communicate. So how effective of the communication is the key. It's not how many artifacts that we build. Number three is really a purpose-driven architecture, right? So when I start to define all these different architectural components and different artifacts, it's really we make certain decisions that we're focusing on capability, we're focusing on applications, we're focusing on the integrations, right? So I'm not focusing on how many technical components, how many VMs, how many database, right? So that's not my EA focus. So really think about what's your focus, what's your priorities when you start to engage your key stakeholders. Number four is start with small wins with streamlined focus areas. That's also very important when we want to communicate and really to articulate the EA values.